up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tanzan, Jess, and Maggie bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 12.20, The Murphy Mafia, where we are covering the novel Blood Rites. My name is Tanzan, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
You don't like flying, do you?
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 28. Dresden arrives at Wolf Lake to find Murphy at her family reunion. Murphy introduces Harry to her mother and sister and finds out that the man her sister is engaged to is her second ex-husband. Kincaid contacts them and lets them know the Red Cross has shown up to the homeless shelter where the vampires are nesting. So, Dresden arrives at Wolf Lake Park and the Murphy family gathering. This is quite the event, it seems. Like, they've got a giant TV set up to a generator with with football playing. Like, lots of sports happening with the kids. And they also even have a bouncy house. Like, this is a massive affair, and only for, like, one afternoon. This is insane. They must have, just a shit ton of money to spend.
Well, if the whole family's contributing.
Yeah.
How much is a bouncy castle, really?
Yeah, I mean, a few $100 or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, like, for a day, I'm sure the bouncy house people make, if you don't want it for, like, a weekend, they have, it booked for this day and that day. And, they're getting their money's worth out of it there.
I mean, as with renting out anything, I want it for 4 hours on a Sunday. All right, here you go.
I mean, I am impressed that they have got this, enormous TV.
Right, and it's a 2004 TV. So it's not, really flat. It's got that, really heavy
by enormous
ass end.
I imagine it's got a 2-foot box attached to the back of the screen.
Yeah, something. I mean, yeah, flat screens were only really coming out around then.
You needed a dolly to get that shit out there,
so,
even with the generator.
I was going to say, yeah.
You've got a whole family of men. Carry it.
Well, and they very well might have done that, too. I mean, like I said, I haven't done a lot of family reunion type things, but I mean, we've never had, a TV set up for one, so I do kind of admire the commitment to that, to getting this thing and a generator out there to play. And I mean, I guess local stations, but you're also getting, you haven't plugged in a VCR to play something. You're watching college football. So you've also got to have some kind of...
Air TV would have been built in there. They didn't go to digital at that point, I don't think.
I guess, but yeah,
rabbit ears are there too.
Right, yeah, right? I mean, I say, if your local station is playing the local ball or something, yeah, it's impressive to have this whole setup.
Way more like a tailgate party than a family reunion to me.
Right?
Wouldn't you want to talk to your family if you haven't seen them? Well, I guess not in this case.
Well, maybe, or
I would be judging these guys if I saw them in the park, though. Really? You couldn't go one afternoon without TV? Really? Why not just stay home?
But this is their whole bonding thing, I guess, is to watch the, I don't know.
When someone is like, we're gonna do our family reunion in the park, and someone else is like, okay, well, I'm gonna be on my phone the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
well, I'm bringing a TV. We're watching college football no matter where you make us party.
How about them sports teams?
Right? But who knows? It's hard to say for sure how many of these are local or not, too, right? So maybe this is like family reunion, but not in the sense of we only see each other, although I think she says annual, so apparently this happens once a year. But You know, maybe they don't have as much to talk about.
Yeah, they could still be hanging out all the time. Clearly, as we'll learn, some are coming in from New Orleans and who knows where else. But maybe a good chunk of them is still spending the majority of the year together.
So, yeah.
And doesn't need a whole afternoon to catch up. I still feel like
yeah.
it's a little bit much. Also, since this is American, they're 2 weeks out from Thanksgiving, right? 2 or 3 weeks out from Thanksgiving. It seems a little early to be, we must watch the football game and all see each other and it has to be now.
Yeah, but they're crazy. Like I say, it does say that they're watching some kind of college ball. And Americans are like crazy nuts over this kind of a thing too. Like, we don't invest nearly as much, I don't feel, in like our high school sports and our college. Like, people are interested and they go and they watch. And I mean, it's good for the athletes who want to move on. But it's not very often I go somewhere and they're watching our local university team or something. I'm pretty sure none of that. But down
I don't think
there,
I could actually identify any of
right?
the UFC
Like
teams. But.
Friday night, the Dinos. That's all I know. Go Dinos. I don't know if
for
that's
you.
all of their teams.
That's Calgary's, that's all I know.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's everything there or if that's just.
All I know is
Like
the
what-
stamps, and they are like the pros. So
Yeah, and the pros I get, but like I say, right, is American one from a much younger varsity. Like, we don't ever talk about varsity ball and blah blah blah, and nobody's like, oh yeah, I was on my varsity volleyball team, right? But down there, everything is like a Letterman jacket and like the varsity team and the junior varsity and the. I feel like.
Or are those our conceptions of Americans? Is that true?
I think
don't-
our
I
conceptions
don't
are
know.
accurate. Everything
About
on TV
everything
is
all the
correct
time.
and accurate and real.
Right?
When I was down there, I not once saw a varsity jacket. Not once.
High School Musical was filmed in a real high school in America, okay?
Right.
That's what their high schools look
Okay,
like.
maybe not the varsity. Maybe that is more. But the fact that it does exist that much more than it does here, I think speaks to the fact that they are more invested in it. Like, fine, okay, maybe not everyone's running around in a
It's a
Letterman
thing.
jacket. But yeah, right? Like, exactly. Like, I mean, my ex at any given weekend, exactly, you could tune into like college basketball and this and that. I'm like, I'm not running around with all the Canadian ones going, oh my God.
I will say, I know
No,
a lot of
obviously-
Canadians who do watch the American college.
But if
stuff.
the American
But yeah,
college
we're not
ball,
watching our own personal deals,
yeah,
have
like
our own.
it's not as big of a thing here. But so yeah, if you're into the sports and you want to watch and you can't go a weekend without,
I gotta listen to fantasy football bullshit every
There's-
goddamn day.
yeah.
They're just better funded.
yeah, whatever the reason,
Clearly.
whether it's exactly. But yeah, that's my point. So I'm like, I can kind of see that. Yeah, this would be a big deal that
Clearly, they have the audience for it. People are dragging TVs into parks.
into parks, and I like that it's Wolf Lake Park too. Like, we haven't been to Wolf Lake since
the alphas.
since the Alphas. Although I'm trying to remember now, that wasn't where he met Bigfoot, was it? That wasn't Wolf Lake.
No, he went up to
You know,
Michigan.
like way, yeah, that's right. He had to go way up into the middle of like Wisconsin. Yeah, but yeah,
He just saw some like weird old lady and ran from the FBI in Wolf Lake Park.
right. Yes,
Right.
yeah. There was that bit, but so anyways, yes, there is. I do like how it's been claimed in the name of God and Clan Murphy. So there's a few of them, indeed.
And one of those TV watching men sees Harry and asks him, "What are you doing here?" Kind of rude.
Okay, this guy here. It's a park. It's a public park. As a cop, you should know anyone's allowed to be in the public park. I get it. You shouldn't go like saddling up to random strangers and, oh, I'm sitting at this picnic bench because it's a public park. It doesn't matter that you guys are also using this picnic bench. But at the same time, like, he gets aggressive way faster. You should normally just wait and see if someone's gonna fuck off a little bit. Give him a second. They brought a TV and a bouncy castle to a public park. That's weird. I am gonna stare at and judge at them for a minute.
They're pretty hostile to one another, though. At least, like Dresden is like really quick to be like, "Yeah, fuck off."
Dresden's such a dick.
I was gonna say he's normally I don't lack authority in this and that, but in this kind of instance, like, it does seem a little more aggressive. Justin's not usually that harsh to just the average, and again, it's not even like he stumbled into this and doesn't know what is going on. You specifically came to this park to find Murphy at her family reunion. You know that,
And if there's hundreds of people that are in this family, you don't know everybody.
I think Styrofoam Cooler Guy has a point, though. Like you said, I mean, Dresden even says it himself. I mean, this big, tall guy and a, like, beat-up, battered guy in his big black leather duster is just, like, looming and lurking and gawking. I mean, like you say, there's a lot of kids here, too, and stuff like that. It's not even just some kind of adult gathering. If somebody wandered into the middle, granted, I wouldn't necessarily...
He does sort of sound like a predator.
It's it's a little bit weird. Like,
and his thought process right now is, gee, I hope none of these guys have learned that I'm on the run for Emma's murder.
yeah, exactly. So let me start off by being a bit more.
He's such a dick.
Again, the internal monologue, I could be like, I could feel like being that too, like, you know, just in your mind being like, fuck off, yes, yeah, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, but the fact that he's like vocalizing it the same way is kind of like, you're not really helping yourself. And the way that the guy capitulates so easy in the end, right? Like, they're just about coming to blows here. And then he's like, I'm sure to see Murphy. Oh, no problem. Let me point you directly in the direction of the small little, like, yes, she can take care of herself, but I don't know who this big, large, looming man is who's gawking at our family thing. And let me just take you immediately. You know, no questioning there about, like, where does she know you from? Like, why? Or let me go find her and see if she wants me to.
Like, are we setting up Dresden's mental state, or are we setting up the guy with the cooler for his personality?
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
I could understand if you are, as we'll learn, a lot of the Murphys are cops and law enforcement.
Yeah.
You might have heard that Murphy hangs out with a weirdo. You might already be aware. Oh, you're that weirdo. I'll go get Murph. Let you be her problem.
Well, that too is, again, he's not exactly that nondescript or anything either. Like, you'd think if, they know, like you say, because whether they're all local or not, because he does peg this guy's law enforcement right off the bat. You know, about the way he carries himself and the whole thing, you know. So I'm like, you'd think you're right that some of them might be a little bit aware that this is Murphy's consultant / friend /
Really, like, the thought did cross my mind while I was reading this. Like, Dresden, just you're not invited to this. Just be polite and say,
exactly.
I'm here for Murphy, because that would have just been easier instead of being a dick
out. Yeah, but the other guy also did start it off by being like, hey, bitch, get out of our park. Well, you can't talk like that. It is a public park. He could have come off a little nicer and be like, hey, can I, what's up, man? You need something from us?
There's a lot of instant button pushing on each side.
Right?
Like,
but yes, that moment instantly when, you know, you could just be a little more polite. Why take chances? Fuck you, Dresden.
Yeah, right? Like, I mean, that is kind of funny, and, like, that's the thing, right? Like, that's the kind of thing I would be, like, under my breath, like, in my head, you know, but the other, he wasn't really, though. Cooler guy was not. He's just like, hey there. Hey, he's like, mind if I ask what you're doing here? And that's immediately when he starts, and he's like, yes. It's like, okay, come on. But it was like, you know, and I think he's fair. I don't think he's that aggressive to start. He's like, hey, we're having a thing.
He matched vibes with Dresden.
Well, yeah, he's like, oh, it's public place or whatever. And he's like, that we've reserved for a function. You know what I mean? Like, he is at first being like, yeah, it's a public place. You can't butt in. If you were just passing through, nobody would have said boo. You know, so I'm like, yeah, no, I think it's definitely more on Dresden.
As soon as you stop and lurk.
I think it's definitely on him that his snarky replies to really what would have been a reasonable question. You know?
No, Harry was overall the dick in this situation.
He was.
I agree.
But yeah, the other guy just doesn't take him very long to fall in with it and be like, okay, look, that's the way you want to play it. I'll do you a favor. I'll call the ambulance first.
Well, at least it keeps it interesting. It's not just like, and she's over there. Okay.
It does a little bit, and like you say, it gives a setup for the feel of it. But again, it was just one of those things that was not out of character, but out of character.
Right. You know, just play nice for a second.
Yeah, usually he's got more reason to, like, again, like you've gone into the supervillains expo meeting or whatever, right? Of course, you're going to be a dick because everybody there is, but it's like, this is a family function for, like, your quote-unquote best friend. You're just going to go in and start being an asshole? Like, that would be where you be polite, Dresden.
And we've seen him try to show respect to law enforcement earlier on, too. When he goes to the police precinct, he's trying to be like, oh, hi, security person. Hi, receptionist. Hi, like, I just want to talk to Murphy. How you doing? Have a good day. Yeah. What's up, Rollins?
They all think I'm kind of crazy or a charlatan. Let's not give him more ammo or whatever.
But as soon as he's like, oh, an off-duty cop? Yeah, fuck you, buddy.
yeah, exactly.
You can't do shit right now. Where's your badge?
What are you gonna do? Call the cops? What are you gonna do? Huh? I'm just standing here. You can't do it. I'm just standing here.
He's literally on the run for murder right now.
But they don't know. Which is like his afterthought. Once he's been belligerent and getting this guy all riled up, then he's like, wait, maybe I should scale it back a notch in case somebody calls it in.
Don't commit crimes when you're already committing a crime. Don't piss off cops if you have a warrant. Don't give them a reason to search your car if it, like... It's so funny. Just shut up.
Right?
Murphy finds Harry first, and he is shooketh when he sees her. She is in a dress. Yeah, well, we get a review of Murphy's boys club plight and a sort of a review of her credentials.
Yeah, it goes over everything.
Yeah.
She doesn't normally dress too feminine, but her mom made her this dress. I feel, though, if you knew that you were gonna be potentially stopped to go fight some vampires, you might have worn jeans.
Right. Oh, and there's no awareness on her mother's part for making this dress for her. Like, wow. If you know your daughter at all, like, she's not going to be comfortable in this dress. This part so totally makes me think of, like, Fried Green Tomatoes, when the character Iggy, like, one of the main characters.
I haven't seen it in so long.
When she's young, she, like, has to wear this dress, and she, like, tantrums and, like, hides in a tree because she doesn't want to wear the dress. And, like, this is what I think of as Murphy thinking while she's wearing this dress is, like, fuck this shit. No.
For our younger audience, if you've ever seen She's the Man. Wow. Lindsay Lohan is forced to go to a debutante's ball, and she eats with her mouth open because she has to wear a nice, pretty little, like, flower girl dress.
That
Lindsay
works,
Lohan
too.
was in the movie, too?
Is it?
Oh,
No, it was Amanda.
Oh, it is Amanda Bynes. You're right. It is Amanda Bynes.
Bynes, yeah.
Sorry, not Lindsay Lohan. Amanda Bynes.
So, for you younger crowd.
I'm sure there's also a Treehouse or Disney Channel version of it, too.
That was not Lindsay Lohan. For shame.
Whatever. They look alike.
Yes.
Which is just a reiteration of a Shakespeare play, anyways.
Everything is. Okay, but I do and I don't disagree with that. Because, like I said, he comes... Like, well, first of all, I do like that it takes him a minute that he completely glosses over and has to start looking again because he doesn't think he's seen her until she's like, hello? And then he's like, holy fuck. But yeah, you're right. Even though they are sort of friends, he really only ever sees her in a professional sense. And again, that's where she, like you say, wears her hair short. Because again, we've always been described as Murphys having like these shorter, punkier haircuts. You know, it's never before been as explicitly stated that maybe that's not entirely her choice, that maybe she would wear her hair a little longer, maybe she would wear her hair a little more feminine, maybe she would be a little more girly if she wasn't trying to compete all the time and hold this place and have to give this image, right? So... Again, I don't know that I necessarily see Murphy as completely anti-dress, as just it's not as practical for her and it's not usually her first choice, and there is always the chance she's going to get called in or she'd rather run off.
I just saw that because of the embarrassment that she's embarrassed about the dress.
I guess I think it's partially Dresden's reaction to it because he's not used to it. I think him kind of going, holy cow, Murph, that, you know, like, again... Even if she is used to wearing dresses, she's not used to in front of him.
She's on a motorcycle in leathers, like
yeah. So I see it sort of
complicated woman. She's got a lot of sides to her.
Exactly. Yeah, I see it a little bit half.
She says she doesn't like this dress. She does say, "I hate these kinds of things." But I will say there's obviously 1,000 different versions of dresses out there in the world, right? I own, maybe 10 dresses and I only like the way I look in one of them. So I never wear dresses either. But every now and again, there's an event that calls for me to wear a dress anyways, right? So Murphy might have a collection that she's like, all right, this is fine. And my mom made me this. I have no choice but to wear this. And these ones, fuck these ones.
Well, and exactly, right? And it could also be that, Murphy used to like her, whatever, right? So her mom, not so much that her mom doesn't know her at all, but just being like, oh, and she was, oh, you look pretty, like same thing.
The same way your grandma keeps buying you the same things you loved when you were 10 up until you're 30.
Maybe, yeah, exactly, right. Or, again, not that that's, drawing on anything.
We're 3 days into the advent calendar. I don't think me or Mackenzie are really needing any of these things yet.
No. But yeah, maybe just, again, that she knows... whatever. You look really good in this, or this suits you, or you do, or, just...
That's just moms, though, right? Like, moms often buy you things you do not need and would not like because they're like, I thought this would be good for you. And you're like, yeah, thanks.
I apologize. That's more the point I was going to make, is that because she was talking earlier about being close to her mom and trying to draw some of that closeness back together and whatever, that would be why she would be maybe more inclined to...
She's trying to please mama.
Yeah, not that it's such a chore, but like, oh, my mom did make this for me. That's sweet, and, and whatever. But yeah. Anyways, yes, it's not normal everyday wear for Murphy. And we find out anyways that she did know she was maybe going to have to go running off, and she did bring a change of clothes. So poo-poo on your hole, she'd be wearing jeans thing.
Still, though.
She exactly did come prepared.
I know she had to change clothes.
It's not like she
I was really hoping she was going to battle vampires in a floral dress. Come on, that would be fucking awesome.
That would be awesome. I mean, frankly, once we get there, I think it gets better than that anyways. But yeah, I mean, it's not like she just showed up to this thing and all of a sudden her mom was like, here, but, it's like she went knowing full well and she brought the side clothes, so.
So Harry does let Murphy know that he's located the vampires and updates her on the situation with Emma's murder. Murphy needs to talk to her mother and sister before they leave, though. Murphy's greeting with her mother is, like, stiff and awkward at best. And Murphy and Harry sort of notice the pavilion's starting to clear out. Like, oh, that's a little bit weird.
Awkward. So weird. Like, the way my family works is I've got a monopoly on all of their personal space. It doesn't matter who I sit next to or go to. I can sit on their lap. I can push them out of the way. I can take their chair. And this crowd is like, run as far away as you can. These two presences are not supposed to be near each other at all. And I'm like, yikes, I got problems.
Like the medic force has been reversed and now everything
Totally.
is-
You would think that they were like in a crowd in one little area that's like close enough for earshot, like all whispering.
It's
to
like
each
somebody
other.
called a bomb threaded on
Which-
there. Like,
Admittedly, seems really weird at first. As soon as the conversation starts to unfold, though,
Harry's like, I should have run too.
you discover that it's not really a whole lot to do with Mama Murphy and Murph. It has a whole lot more to do with,
Lisa, who's your guest?
yeah, when she suddenly clues into that whole thing. And I mean, yeah, awkward. Like, this is, like, obviously, Murphy and Lisa have
A falling out.
No, well, yeah, their own strat. And I mean, again, as someone who's got a sister who's like 10 years her junior, it is awkward sometimes to relate to things and exactly, you know, some of the things that she's just doing now. I'm like, yeah, been there, done that, like a decade ago.
Can you imagine though, like if your sister
No,
and her husband
that's-
split up, that you
yeah.
would like jump right in there and just
That's what's weird. And it, again, at least she didn't jump right in there.
No,
they
no,
had
no.
some weird circumstances for
still think it's like-
encountering each other.
and you don't
However,
think to actually even say anything like.
You do not date sibling
Now-
partners. I don't care how long you've been divorced. The whole point of you divorced him. They can do it. Nah, your sister's a piece of shit.
yeah, well, and I mean, granted, neither of us would want each other's exes. And in all fairness, at least it sounds like maybe this guy might be, you know, like there wasn't anything innately wrong with him. He wasn't a piece of shit. They just,
Disagree.
they had different goals or
If I
what.
tell my sister someone's a piece of shit, ride or die. That's all she needs to know.
Okay, yes,
Go
from a,
meet him yourself and come up with your own
from
conclusions.
a familial. I'm talking objectively.
No, fuck this guy. He sucks.
Objectively, he does not sound like the biggest asshole of all assholes. So there is that small bit going for him that at least he is. But yes, dating, especially like your sister's,
But yeah, I mean,
and not even just an
sets up
ex-boyfriend,
the-
but your ex-husband. It's,
The yuck between the two sisters, though, is what it sets up.
well, and that too, right? When you want to get down and like, oh yeah, I've slept
Excluding
with
him,
her.
like,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh god, this is awful to read. Like, ew.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not even just like, oh, we dated for a bit. Maybe he kissed your sister. But, you know, it's like they were married. You know darn well that, yeah. And to think, like, now I'm banging your baby sister, too. It's just like that again, right? Is,
I would just not want to draw that family tree. I'd be like, okay, draw to Murphy and then scribble it out and draw to Lisa.
right? Yeah.
Awkward.
It definitely gets weird and awkward. And
I think my note on here is yikes.
yikes. Well, and
My note is yuck. The fact, why would Rich want the baby sister? Why would the baby sister want Rich?
hey, the
Either
heart
way,
wants what the heart wants. Is I think
people.
the point they're trying to make. Yeah.
People suck.
Like attracts like.
But we know already that aside from this, is that they already had their right? Because she's already been disparaging her sister. You know, she's already making fun of the way she dresses and the way she talks. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not all just this is just
We had
more on
definitely
top.
pre-established tension because they both go right for the kill, even before she finds out about like who the
Well, she know. Well, she didn't know because I think didn't she know there was supposed to be something
She
about
knew there was going to be a
engagement?
fiance. She didn't know who it was.
yeah, because she starts introducing Dresden and then goes, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah,
But
exactly.
they are,
right.
I think they like already like throwing around the insults.
A little bit, yeah, but that's what I mean. It wasn't so much that as I was gonna say she didn't know who it was, but she didn't know, like you say, that there was so it wasn't even so much like
Yeah, she
didn't
didn't
realize
even
they
look
were
at his
that
face
far, yeah.
because she didn't give a fuck about who the fiance was. So she's like, I'm not even gonna look over there until I really have to. There's a Taylor Swift lyric though, and it's like they say move on, but you know I won't. And women like hunting witches too, doing your dirtiest work for you. It's obvious that wanting me dead has really brought you two together. Like just the fact that Rich and Lisa just don't even like fuck that Murphy chick. She wouldn't even have kids with me. She wouldn't even have kids with you. What the hell?
Right? And yeah, there probably is some of that, you know what I mean, exactly bonding over the, you know, like she didn't
My
want
sister
me, she
sucks.
gotta be-
Your sister sucks.
Yeah, exactly, right. But at least, again, Rich does seem to have a little bit, like, he does also seem to recognize this is awkward, and he's not just whereas Lisa's like, you didn't want him. I can recognize her. Rich
At
is
least
like,
he has some self-awareness that way.
yeah, he's like, okay, dude.
Pull him away at
He's
some
like,
point.
Lisa, this is not really like,
The
come
difference
on.
between dating the 30-year-old sister and the 20-year-old sister.
Yeah, exactly, and stuff like that.
Probably likes the attention, but it's still like, oh, well, let's just pull you out of here.
Well, even as cringe and mean that I think Mama Murphy gets in this scene of, well, you didn't want him. That's not their fault. They're just supposed to whatever. She does still insult Rich too, and she's like, "Oh, Dresden, another adult here, thanks," because she understands that even Rich is being a little bit of a baby here.
I totally missed that.
Because they start, building up to blows and insulting each other, and Dresden's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! How about we finish the introduction so I know what team I want to be on?"
Yeah, so I know who to duck. Yeah, exactly, right.
So Mama Murphy's like, thank you, only other adult in the room. So she does a little bit stomp on Rich as well in that moment too. She's not like, oh, Rich, you're so perfect and lovely and everything you do is great. I like that she's a little bit like, okay, you are all being fucking idiots right now.
Mama Murphy is a really interesting character because she doesn't
loves her daughter.
Super opinionated,
Absolutely loves Murphy, but absolutely loves Lisa and does not let the two clearly stomp one or the other, apparently. Even if it should.
And there's this really weird, doesn't lack of support though. Like you don't.
That's what I mean.
She
though,
doesn't support the decisions, but loves. Yeah, you're right.
Like in her love for Lisa, she's allowing her to walk all over Murphy, and so it's like as long as she can still love Lisa, she absolutely loves Murphy. But for me, I feel
it's a little conditional for me.
Totally, like you can't have one without the other, and she's trying really hard to do both. And I'm like, no, one of them fucked up, and you're putting the blame on Murphy right now, and I don't think that's fair.
And she doesn't support her decisions. Like she knows that Murphy loves being in the police force.
And even we get Murphy's all, oh, well, we're Irish Catholic. The fact that I've been divorced twice is like the biggest sin in the world. So you get a little bit more of Mama Murphy. Like, you're not even supposed to get divorced once. You got divorced twice. Now your sister wants to get married and you've got an issue again. But nah.
Just settle and be a housewife because that's going to make you really happy.
No kidding.
No.
Welcome to the 21st century, Mama
Well, I
Murphy.
don't feel that's exactly what she said, but she was like, that's what Rich wanted to do, and you weren't interested in that, so can you blame him for wanting to move off? So she doesn't say, you should have just done what your man wanted, and you should have just stayed home and had kids. I don't feel like she puts it that way at all or anything like that, but yeah, just more the point that, I feel like she does try to stop it because they start going at each other, and she does say, because, Murphy's like, well, she dresses like a whore, she might as well talk and her mom's like, okay, cut that shit out right now.
Okay.
She doesn't let them just,
But the admission of guilt here for me is that everyone clearly knew about Rich and did not warn Murphy.
And that's Murphy's problem.
Admission that some shit is shady.
But does she or does she not have a point? And I'm a little bit devil's advocate here because, it would probably be a whole lot different if I was in these shoes and these circumstances.
Everyone plays a really dangerous gray line area for all of them.
Yeah, but, again, her mom's point, and I don't feel like she's
Family makes it complicated.
I don't feel like she's trying to use it as a cop-out, but she's like, I didn't really feel it was my place, whether that's right or wrong. That was her take on it. So she's like, we all thought Lisa should be the one to tell you because Lisa was the one who's now dating and engaged to your former fiance. So in some ways, I think the onus was a bit on her to be like, so sis, I hooked up with your man, right?
Disagree. We've all got the family member that we know is going to fuck up no matter what. And we're not going to put the onus on them forever covering their tracks and owning up to it. We all go behind their back and we're like, hey, this one cousin is never going to get their shit together. They've bought their 15th dog and they've given up their 14th dog, right? So we don't they're the ones we're going to have to
go
figure out that they can't
behind
have
their
dogs.
back, right? Is exactly.
So Mama Murphy should have said something. Not, well, it was Lisa's job to tell you. No, sometimes if you know your daughter's a piece of shit, you should just tell your other daughter's a piece of shit. Mama Murphy being all, it wasn't my place to get involved. Okay, you're kind of a shit mom. This is something you should have said. The final straw is that Mama Murphy happens to also mention that Lisa and Rich are moving to Chicago now too. So it's not even like they're going to be out of sight, out of mind back in New Orleans. They're coming to be here.
Yeah, she can't avoid it. They will be in her face on every regular family thing.
Well, and forget even just family things. Murphy works in law enforcement. She is not going to be able to avoid Rich every single day. Even if the FBI's got their own building and she's got her own building, we know from TV, which is, again, the most accurate thing in the world, that the FBI and the cops have to talk to each other every day, and they're in each other's office stealing each other's cases every single day. So...
all the time. Yeah. I don't know. She's already said it's been a while since she's talked to him, and she made a big deal about going to this. We already know that Murphy doesn't either choose to or have the capability to attend every family function. So yes, it definitely it's going to be more in her face than if they were still in New Orleans. But at the same time, I'm like we all live in the same city. I do not regularly run into either one of you unless we make plans to meet up. You know, I don't accidentally run into you all over the place. Even in other family, I don't go to visit my niece and like run into Jess there unless we've got plans to, you know. So I mean, I
agree with that, but I feel if I worked at a McDonald's and you worked at a Walmart and they're in the same parking lot, the chances that we'd run into each other is a little bit higher.
Yeah, that's a little bit higher.
The law enforcement areas probably, whether it's FBI or
I don't think she's going to
PD.
run into Lisa all that often. I think it's going to be Rich she runs into way more often.
Yeah, maybe. There is definitely the potential for that.
And also, you live 45 minutes outside of town.
Yeah, okay, fine.
My cousin lives 45 minutes away from my house despite being in the same town. Maybe if we all lived within 2 or 3 blocks of each other, I might go over to your houses a little more
everybody
often.
in Chicago lives 2 or 3 blocks from each other. Like, I don't see
There's apparently 100 of them. They're probably every 3 houses in Chicago.
If they're tight knit, they might all live in the same neighborhood.
You know,
and if it's like they always have that like that stereotype that the police officers always like attend
hang
the same
out at
bars.
the same bar and the whole.
And Murphy inherited Grandma's house. So there was only 10 houses when it was built, right? Her family members might be nearby in another house.
Okay, he's dropped by Murphy's house, so she's never once mentioned that, you know, Mom lives across the street.
I'm not
her
saying she
cousin
lives across the street.
down.
Just saying that.
I just think
Lisa seems the type of piece of shit
I think when it works in your favor, you're happy to have the narrative look at one way, and when it disputes your point, then nobody ever talks to each other, ever sees anybody, and they're all on opposite sides. So,
like any good author. My character has siblings when they need siblings, and they don't have siblings when they don't need siblings, okay?
Exactly.
They rode a motorcycle when they want to be a cool and badass, and they've never seen a motorcycle in their life when it doesn't work with the plot.
Perfect. All right, there we go.
So all this goes on, and then Murphy has to take a call. So Harry chats with Mama Murphy a bit. We learned this interesting information that SI was established with these weird cases.
It didn't just suddenly spring up in the last 4 years since Harry existed? What?
But it was
Weird shit happened before.
It originally went to detectives called the Black Cats in the 13th Precinct.
It's kind of cool.
And Murphy's father was a black cat for 12 years. Not only that, we find out that Murphy doesn't know any of this. So she's like picked up his legacy without even knowing.
Mm-hmm. Right. And is some of that paying a little bit for the sins of the father? Because,
potentially.
like I say, obviously lots of people in Murphy's. So some of those people that, and I mean, I'm sure it's been established too that Murphy had enough of her own quote unquote issues, you know, standing up and defying whatever.
She just gave them a reason.
But again, that some of those people that were around in Daddy's time are still around in her time, and exactly could have
Biases
also
may have
influenced
existed.
where she ended up there as quickly as she did or whatever. So yeah, exactly. It is a very interesting. So I have to admit that Black Cats does sound so much more cooler than being an SI or whatever. Yeah, but
It's
I
such
get
a
it.
noir, all day
right.
Chicago.
Which is why, of course, you
Professional,
can't call
you know.
it that anymore. That's
Right.
just, we have to be all like mature and official and not like
Clean it all up.
So,
no
yeah.
cool names.
But yeah, he did all that first.
Not only that, we can kind of see when she continues on the conversation that we find out that her father ended up killing himself because he couldn't handle these cases anymore. And this is probably why Mama Murphy doesn't actually overtly support Murphy in her endeavors to be
Exactly.
in
Gee,
SI and a
there's
police officer.
More going on to it. The mom isn't as clueless
Mama
as
knows.
the daughter thinks all the time. Crazy. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is that Murphy was still quite young. So, I mean, again, we've just established that there has to be a minimum of 11 years, well, 10 years between Murphy and, because if Murph was 11 when Dad died, Dad wasn't having any more kids after that. So Lisa had to be around by then, right?
1 or 2. Lisa's like close to a decade below Murph.
Yeah, that's
So
what
yeah,
I was
just
saying.
1 or 2 when he died.
Does that? Yeah, she'd have absolutely almost no recollection because she would have been like a baby kind of a thing, right? And yeah, that again, Murphy herself not being terribly old. Although I'm sure I've thought of this before, but it just clued in again when they're saying that he was 11 when she died is also when she started the Aikido. So was that because of, or had she started that and then
That's
later?
a good point.
A little
Yeah, I
Work out your aggression,
Internalized
Murphy.
therapy.
right? Maybe that was.
I do wonder, though, I mean, this whole, he shot himself at his desk one night. The pressure just got too much. I think it's not a spoiler to say how suspicious as fuck that comes across. Even
Well-
the first time I read it.
It does sound like a setup. Like,
It seems like, really?
here's the
That's
first
what happened.
version.
It does make you wonder a lot with exactly, and even like Dresden's whole thing. Dresden's just like, my mom died giving birth, and then little bit by little bit, every book there's like a tiny
Nice
little
little layer.
interclude somewhere else that
Nobody
was
just
it,
dies in a
was
fantasy
it,
novel.
was exactly, you know. And again, given all the circumstance and the thing and the whatever is, yeah, it piques that interest to be like, because it totally could have been. I mean, let's face it, we all know, you know, that is a very, very high pressure job and that a lot of cops do struggle with, you know,
You're gonna get
suicide and this
PTSD and
that,
you're gonna get
PTSD
problems
in
here.
addition to all the, yeah, exactly,
Well,
right.
You're
So-
handling all these cases that nobody's going to believe you
And
on
yet you
anyway.
can't even go to a therapist about it.
and up on, yeah, exactly, like
Completely unsupported.
added on top. And
The
again,
White
like,
Council would have a branch for that.
yeah, 'cause
Supernatural therapy.
they've proven so, you know, sympathetic and supportive so far
Yeah,
in
it's
this.
the
that
MIB,
they-
like, mind eraser is what their version is.
yeah, right.
You shall not remember this.
Except they don't even have that much for them. You don't even actually get to forget all of it. But yeah, yep.
Whatever. It's a complicated situation, and I can understand too from, again, the whole, well, my husband did actually confide in me, so I do know about some little bit of weird, sketchy shit in the world that Murphy doesn't want to talk to me about, and my husband had to, like, then kill himself over it, so you can understand why I don't want Murphy involved in a life that might lead her to the same pathway.
But she also gives us that twist that is like, because I know Murphy needs to protect me from it. So I pretend I don't know how dangerous her work. I pretend I don't know. So,
Who
right?
that parallels, right?
It's kind of that double
is like the early attitude that Dresden has towards Murphy.
Yeah, a little
Because he
bit.
won't tell her anything because he's trying to protect her too.
Yeah, but yeah, that whole thing, exactly right, where you know, she is more aware, so she's like, these are kind of the roles we play. And I mean, I think that's very valid in family life and stuff like that too, and especially that mother-child or parent-child role or whatever, right? Is that, you know, Murphy thinks she's doing good, Murphy thinks she's, so yeah, not so much, yeah, I guess you meant paralleling Dresden and Murphy's and Murphy and her mom. Not that.
That's
so I
the
took it, yeah, the other way around. But yeah, Murphy's doing to her mom what Dresden did to her, kind of a thing. Yeah, I'm not telling you more about it. And yeah, she knows more then. But yeah, I just found that was like an interesting thing too, that she's
Everyone's trying to protect everyone
like,
by
yeah,
not telling the truth.
I sort of give her a hard time and I tell her, oh, you shouldn't do this because she thinks that, you know, I only know what's
Ignorance
that
is bliss.
scary.
The
Exactly,
more ignorant
yeah.
I am, the more blissful I am, and she can at least be happy that she's taking on the burden alone and isn't letting it spread out to her family.
That's right. Mom thinks, yeah, I'm just keeping her safe from the guns and the knives and not all the other things she doesn't know out there. And
I found it a very redeeming moment for the mother because that was like, okay,
Minimally.
this explains why you're not.
wow, I never knew you had such a hate on for Mama Murphy.
I'm
kinda
just
with
realizing
Jess,
it in
and
this
I
moment.
I kind of like Mom. Well, yeah, she fixes his burger the way she likes it.
No, I
she
get
tries to
that.
look
She does
after
try to
her.
be good. This whole Lisa thing is unforgivable to me.
And
And I don't have any, like, none of my siblings have ever dated any of my exes, and I've never dated any of theirs. I don't know anyone in my family who's ever done that to any of each other. I just see it happen, you know. Am I the asshole on Reddit every day that comes up? And I'm like, how do people keep doing this to their siblings?
Yeah,
Yeah.
How does this happen?
I can't really conceive of it myself. Like, put myself in that circumstance and be like, no,
It
I
definitely
can't
does
recognize
seem
it.
I
a
felt
really weird thing.
If my sister was dating someone, or a cousin, or even my best friend was dating someone, and I just had like the wedding bells, that's my soulmate, I love them so much, like, okay, I gotta be friends with them. My sister, my friend, whoever has gotten to them first. I'm not conniving of some plan. I gotta get him broken up. I gotta be with him. I gotta, like, this is like the most important things in the world. We're meant to be together. Even if they break up and I'm waiting the next day on his doorstep, like, oh my gosh, I waited till you were broken up. Hi, nice to meet you.
At least bite the bullet and like be honest. Be like, hey, I have feelings here and I need to talk to you about this. Just something.
I think crush them immediately. It's not
Yeah,
your
Je-
job to
Jessica would.
ruin other people's relationship. Or
I
again,
think-
she didn't ruin it. She didn't try to break them up. I just think it's still weird to have found him and run into him and not immediately like spat in his face and been like, fuck you and what you did to my sister.
Yeah, because I was going to say it wasn't like she was pining for him the whole time. I think this is a very distinct set of circumstances, several years, because Harry has known Murphy for several years now, and he had no idea there was one husband, let alone two. So we know this is sort of well in her past. This is not a recent thing. So 5-6 years minimum since, probably her last divorce, let's assume. Right. So yeah,
At least 3, because she hasn't been married for a while.
But Dresden has
Dresden
known her.
has been...
Yeah, he's known her since Restoration of Faith.
Okay.
So that's 5 years pre-Stormfront.
Okay. Oh, I assumed since Stormfront because there's like that gap between the short story that doesn't actually say if he knows, like that it mentions marriage. Shh. And I know Stormfront, she's definitely not married at that point.
Yeah, fair enough. She could have been married in Restoration of Faith.
She could have been going through that divorce during then.
Yeah, she could have been or whatever. But yeah, point being is that, yeah, we know it's been a few years, obviously, and no mention of it at all. So, but yeah, so point being is that, yes, it is a very strange set of circumstances where you can be like, well, Lisa and Rich didn't plan. They didn't know. It was just one of those things that kind of happened. But yeah, like I say, it does still seem very strange to me. Exactly, because anybody I would look at with that, knowing that you had dated or were with, or even under the most amicable of breakups, would still just be like, this is weird.
We've got just a couple million in our own city, and American cities are dealing with like 30 million per city. You got more options than I married your sister.
But again, look at what those options are. Maybe you might go with the ones that have been at least semi-vetted first.
I mean, it does speak to both
Terrible.
of their characters in this way. Like, is really what it does. It's kind of like, well,
I don't know.
all right,
I mean,
you
Butcher
both
did
got
a-
questionable.
Butcher did a great job of laying down who the fuck these people are. And I don't like them.
Right. Yeah, they're not really my favorite people.
No, Lisa's kind of a skank, she is. Mama Murphy does not upset me as much as you are suddenly, but and I think it's hard too. I think when you've got, and I feel like
This feels like the difference between my mom and my stepmom. Sorry. My stepmom wouldn't tell me if my sister started dating my ex-fiance. She'd be like, yeah, he was free and available. Like, whereas I think my mom, hopefully you would call and tell me if my sister started dating my ex-fiance.
well, yes,
Or husband, or whatever the hell.
Feel like, yes, that would not stay a secret for long, and I think, yeah, somebody would, but I just, regardless of who, what, when, where,
I find it strange.
I don't know.
And I don't
I
like
like
it.
this
And
in
if that's
some
your
ways.
family dynamic, I don't like it.
Jim Butcher has done a really, really nice job. And the reason why I'm saying this, like an effective job,
polarizing.
because of the response that both of you are having.
Yeah.
And very effective writing if you can do this.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
As someone who doesn't have children and has no loyalty to anyone in the universe, I think Mama Murphy's a piece of shit.
yeah. And as a mother who has kids to protect and comes from a large family, I don't think it's always so cut and dried. I think that, and I think there's more than just 4 kids. I feel like this is like a 6-7 person family, you know? So yeah, when you've got that many kids and you're trying to, like, I look at what my own mother goes through, trying to keep track of all our lives and who's doing what. And when we bitch about each other, the position that puts her in, you know, and yeah, you're right. Some of it is like, well, you never did that for us. We were all, and I do have that Lisa, who is 10 years younger than me, that is the baby of the family, that is going through, how do you choose and how do you, and I mean, I think she's fair to a point, like, who wants to get in the middle of that? Who wants to be the one to be, you know, you're dating her, you go tell your sister that you're dating her ex.
See, this all adds to my comment that he's done an effective job of polarizing opinions
Yeah.
to make this a very complex situation. Like,
Well,
The reality is, when I read this book the first time, I didn't give a fuck about this moment. I was like, move on, let's get to the vampire slaying.
yeah.
Which, speaking on, Murphy comes back, and we learn that the person on the other end of the phone was Kincaid. And props to Kincaid and Murphy for having exchanged phone details, because it's like, what's the point in calling a wizard? He doesn't have a cell phone. He never goes
Exactly.
home. What's your number? We'll be all... And I also, like, props to Harry for being like, well, I'm the boss. You guys should talk to me. It's like, you can't use a cell phone, dude. Go away. We got this.
Yeah.
contingency upon contingency. That's them.
Yeah. I do
Harry's like, I don't know.
Yeah. It is just funny how everyone's just like, yeah, well, just shut up.
Harry's
Pim.
like, I bought pancakes, okay?
Barely.
So we do find out that Kincaid is at the shelter and that the Red Cross is there for their routine blood drive.
Props to Kincaid. He's not lazy, okay? You're gonna pay him a couple million, and he's gonna fucking go stake out the place all day long. I will say, you know, because Dresden didn't tell him to do that. Dude just obvious is like, well, if I'm being paid for 10 hours, I might as well go sit outside this place and wait until you're ready.
Well, and
He's doing the
again,
due diligence to keep himself safe is probably what it is, but at
well,
the same
and also
time,
the
he
fact
needs
that
to.
yeah, he knows what dress. He's like, okay, so this guy showed up. His plan is find them, kill them. So you know what? I'm gonna go like, okay, fine, dude, found where they were. But yeah, I think it's probably a little bit fair that this falls under his whole part of the contract too. That he's like, hey, Dresden obviously is not as finessed at this as I am. He has not done this as many times as Kincaid can. He obviously is not thinking of all the angles, all the details. So yeah, you know, yeah, Kincaid, you might as well take it on yourself because exactly, he's gonna save his ass in the end. But But yeah, exactly. He's like, maybe I'm just going to go check out this place and see what's going down before we just show up there willy-nilly. And, so
Murphy immediately wants to call it in to like the other police, but Harry stops her and has to kind of talk her down from her righteous fury. And Murphy finally does agree to go with Harry's plan instead.
Because now there's more people. Now she's got Red Cross people. She's got the homeless shelter staff.
Actually, this stand down was really awesome. Because that's, it's not fair to do that to someone in front of their family when it's like their space and their gig and their guys. Same thing as Harry's not supposed to boss Murphy around in front of her SI guys, right? You wouldn't want to have this showdown of your outsider, boyfriend, best friend, anyone, then telling you the law or whatever in front of them all. However, obviously this is a big deal for Supernatural, and that's Harry's turf. But I did like this show stand down for a moment where they were both just like, bitch, who's in charge right now? I do wonder, though, how Kincaid knew about Cabrini, since Harry only just found out because he had to send Bob out a second time, went to Pancakes without the information, then went home again and then got the Cabrini information. So clearly he must have called Kincaid at some point and sent him down there, but...
Oh, I didn't even think about that, yeah.
But it is funny. I'm like, bitch. So somewhere between... Because didn't he get the information from Bob and then get Morse code from Ebenezer and then run out to Ebenezer and go to the park? And then Kincaid is like, hey, bitch, I'm here. And he's like, oh, well, then why did I send Bob down there if you just figured it out on your own?
Yeah, he must. I don't recall now either.
On his way to Ebenezer out in the car, he's like, just real quick, gotta call Kincaid and tell him where to meet us.
Yeah.
Went home he was at Thomas's. He was at house race. He went to Bob. Bob was useless. He kicked Bob out again. Went to get pancakes. Didn't have any information for them. Went to the porn star set. Killed Emma. And then went back home and talked to Bob. And Bob was like, bitch, I figured it out. And then Ebenezer was like, Morse code, bitch, I'm here. And then Harry's like, let's go to Wolf Park. And then they're like, let's go to Cabrini Green. And Kincaid is like, bitch, I'm here. Meet me there.
Right. Like, the only place that would have made sense is if he had called him
Yeah, as he's heading out to Ebenezer.
Yeah.
He's like, just one moment, sir. Blamp fears, and also I gotta make a call. Blamp fires? What did he call them? Blampires. Blamp. So Kincaid has only had to have been there in the last, 30 minutes, and as soon as he pulled up, he's like, oh no, not the Red Cross.
Got cut in edits, nobody noticed.
Mm-hmm. It did, because, it doesn't really make any mention of him pausing to make a phone call.
He also peed, but Butcher was like, I don't need to put that in there. It's fine.
We never put that part in there.
He peed and made a phone call while he peed, so just delete. Or alternatively, Kincaid just figured out, he's like, I don't know your sources, but they clearly suck. Let me go track them down.
He calls up the archive.
Yeah, literally, I was like, hey,
and he already knows the map that Bob drew out, so he knows what's going on because he called the archive.
He's like, who's writing Help Me in Chicago right now?
Yeah. Harry tells Mama Murphy they've got to go due to work, and Murphy's mom makes him and Murphy burgers to take with them. Will you take care of my daughter? Yes, ma'am, of course I will. Her blue eyes flashed fiercely, and she said, let me get you a piece of cake.
I like that moment.
It's cute.
That's good.
Oh, I'm glad there's something redeemable about her for you. She offered him cake. It's okay now.
Somebody's got to feed the poor man.
To all future in-laws, if you give me cake.
But gluten-free.
Everything's forgiven. Yeah, it has to be gluten-free. I'll freak the fuck out.
That's right.
I got invited to a Christmas party that was not my own, a friend's Christmas party yesterday. Not a single gluten-free thing there.
Oh, no.
And I was like, dang, that's uncommon.
Not even like some fruit or something?
There was like a fruit.
Okay,
there was a fruit
okay,
platter, but
of the...
Yeah, I ate, and the Caesar salad had croutons in it, so I picked the croutons out and ate Caesar salad, and I was able to have the fruit trip, and I was like, that's remarkable in this day and age. I've not had this problem yet since I've gotten my diagnosis.
That's crazy, yeah, usually. Although I do like just before how they wrap it up, where Mama Murphy's all like, oh, looks like that was quite the argument, and looks like you won. He's like, yeah, and I'll pay for it later. Yeah, I did, but I was like, yeah, you will. So, yeah, here, have that cake. You're gonna need it.
This concludes our episode 12.20, The Murphy and Mafia. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnallys.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.